Let's analyze this. So, Wrestlelamia recently just did a video covering the topic of former, I believe, three-time world champion? And former three-time world champion, a legend, one of the all-time greats. I got him either 2 or 3. Yeah, I got him as either 2 or 3. No, I actually got him as 3 or 4 in terms of my all-time giants in professional wrestling. I got Undertaker number 1. I got Big Show number 2. Got Andre the Giant 3. I actually got Kane 4th. So Kane is 4th. The Wrestlelamia covered the topic of Kane and how he may be retiring. Finally. Freaking finally. After recently becoming Knoxville County mayor. So, he's going to talk about it. Let's see what he has to say.
Glenn Jacobs has played one of the WWE's most legendary character, Kane, for almost 22 years. He debuted all the way back in 1997 at the In Your House Bad Blood pay-per-view.
One of the greatest debuts of all time.
Interfering in the first ever Hell in a Cell match by going toe-to-toe with his older brother The Undertaker and tombstoning him in the ring, giving Shawn Michaels the win. Over time, he evolved his character, where he was seen as less robotic, but later on became more sadistic. However, at times, he proved to be humorous.
2 mistakes that the WWE made with Kane. Number 1, unmasking him. Now, actually, number 1, having his suit, his latex suit, be more revealed. That was the first mistake that they made with Kane. They had Kane when he first came in the full latex suit covering his arms and his legs and pretty much his whole chest. First mistake they made was having it where it was like this. Okay, Glenn, you're going to wear the whole latex suit. A couple years later, you know what? Take down that sleeve so we can see that arm. A couple years later, okay, you know what? Take down that other sleeve so we can see both of your arms clearly. A couple years later, you know what? Let's get rid of the top. Let's change the top of the suit and have it where your chest is revealed. And then it became, okay, you know what? Well, let's unmask you. Let's unmask you, shave you bald, and boom. So those were the biggest mistakes that they made with Kane because the character was supposed to have been severely burned in a fire. Okay, so why is he revealing his body? We don't want to see all of his scabs and, all of his horribly burned skin, quote unquote. But then the WWE try to flip it later on, and then they go, oh, they were just mental scars. Like, really? That's going to be your cover-up? Mental scars? You couldn't just have him have the full body suit on. You couldn't just have him keep the full body suit on. You had to essentially make him look like every other wrestler on the roster. Come on now. But anyway, that was the mistakes. Those were the big mistakes that they made. And then it seemed like when they unmasked him, they were doing well with him, booking-wise. They were having him destroy people left and right from the summer of 03 to early 04. But it seems like they were just doing that just to build to him losing to The Undertaker at WrestleMania 20. Now, it's been rumored that Kane was supposed to end the streak. I don't know how much that rumor holds up because I have never heard that rumor before. But, I guess, I don't know. I know that Randy Orton at one point was supposed to end the streak in 05. That was supposed to propel him to legendary status early, way before he became the Viper. And I've heard around the grapevine that Wade Barrett was supposed to end the streak too. It was supposed to be him and Taker at WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta, as opposed to Taker and Triple H. But they fucked that up by doing what they did with the Nexus, I guess. I don't know why people were shocked and disappointed about how they handled the Nexus, because we all know WWE does not like factions like that. They don't. What faction in the WWE has lasted over 3 years? Like, name me one. Seriously. You can't count the NWO because that was a WCW creation. DX in their original run only lasted 3 years. I'm talking about DX with everybody. Well, kind of excluding Shawn because he had to retire. But I'm talking that DX lineup of Triple H, the second lineup of Triple H, Chyna, Billy Gunn, X-Pac, and Road Dogg. That original lineup that second lineup only lasted 3 years. Evolution lasted a little over 3 years. The Shield only lasted not even 2 years, a year and a half. You know? So, WWE, they obviously don't like factions like that. Factions are only short-term booking. So the fact that fans get all upset and rowdy about these factions and groups and teams splitting up in such a short period of time, well, what the hell do you expect? They don't like factions like that, or at least booking them long term. Like I said, the examples that I just provided. But Kane, I wouldn't say he was a waste. He had a good career. He still had a good career. Did they go overboard with certain things and made him a little bit silly? Probably sillier than he should have been. Sure. But Kane didn't complain. That's what I respect. That he didn't complain. At the end of the day, the man still had a job. That's the thing. Not everybody can be at the top. Not everybody can be world champion. You know? If everybody is going to be world champion, then that's pretty much giving everybody a trophy. Then no. There's going to be winners and there are going to be losers. You got to deal with it. It is what it is.
As seen with his short-lived partnership with Daniel Bryan as Team Hell No. Things took a more interesting twist when Kane became the director of operations and transformed into Corporate Kane, a stereotypical butt-kissing stooge to the authority and a polar opposite of a role he played for so long. It was interesting, but it wasn't well received by fans, and soon enough, he would revert.
It only wasn't well received because for most of that Corporate Kane run, he was pretty boring. Up until he turned face and feuded with Seth Rollins. That's when that whole... But really look back. In 2015, around the summer to the fall of 2015, when Seth Rollins was the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Kane was becoming more interesting as Corporate Kane. Like I said, the face turn really helped. Because you had him going back and forth with Seth constantly. You had him making sarcastic, half-serious jokes. Where he would get in his face and say something real dark. And then turn it into he would make his tone lighter. To make it come off as a joke. When it really wasn't. We know it wasn't. I thought that part of Kane was fun. That corporate part of Kane was fun. So.
Back to his demon persona, reappearing with his familiar mask and hair. Kane then took a step back from WWE as he announced in March 2017 he was officially running for the mayoral seat of Knox County. Whilst campaigning, Kane would only make brief returns to WWE, even main eventing last year's Royal Rumble with Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship. But after Jacobs was elected mayor in August 2018, he's only managed to return for a few occasions, one being in the corner of The Undertaker for his match against Triple H at the Super Showdown event, and wrestling at the Crown Jewel event in Saudi Arabia, teaming up with his older brother once again to take on D-Generation X in a dream match that was almost 10 years too late.
Agreed. The best time for them to have done that match was 2009. That was the last time they had. Remember, if you remember, back in 2009, or at least late 2009, D-Generation X, Triple H and Shawn, they became the Unified Tag Team Champions. I believe they beat Jericho in a TLC match to win the titles. I was actually surprised that they never did them versus the Brothers of Destruction at that point. They could have done it. I think that they could have done it around, well, let me see, Taker was World Heavyweight Champion at the end of the year because at TLC he beat Batista to retain, right? And Kane, what was Kane doing? I don't even remember what Kane was doing in late 09. Yeah, he wasn't doing anything significant, otherwise I would remember it. You know what? No, I can't say that. You could make the case that they should have done Brothers of Destruction versus DX instead of DX versus Legacy. Remember DX versus Legacy throughout the summer and early fall of 2009? That feud really did nothing for Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase. Honestly, it didn't. Like, it was a great feud. Don't get me wrong, it was a great feud. Like, their submissions count anywhere match at Breaking Point was highly underrated. Their Hell in a Cell match, highly underrated, even though it was booked kind of goofy. But it was still good. Like, their feud overall was still, in terms of the matches, it was still really entertaining and underrated matches as far as tag team matches go. As far as classic tag matches in this current PG era. But now that I think about it, they probably should have done DX versus Brothers of Destruction instead. Because it would have been, I don't know, it would have been more appealing. And seeing where Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase ended up going following that feud, yeah, they should have had the Brothers of Destruction do the feud instead.
After the match, the Big Red Machine slipped back to his mayoral position, and we haven't seen him on WWE television ever since. However, at a WWE live event held in Knoxville Civic Auditorium Coliseum, Kane returned. But rather than donning his signature red mask, Kane was wearing a sports coat with jeans, appearing completely...
Kane is old. Kane is old, ladies and gentlemen. Kane is old. What is he? He's about to be 52. And that man should have retired a long time ago. They should have done better with his World Heavyweight title reign in 2010. Because his feud with Undertaker in 2010 sucked. It sucked. It was terrible. Terrible. Haven't you noticed that Undertaker and Kane, after their WrestleMania 14 match back in 98, it seemed like every match that they had against each other one-on-one after their WrestleMania 14 match progressively got worse and worse and worse and worse. Isn't that strange? It's weird. Probably goes to show that that feud shouldn't have been booked as many times as it was.
completely out of character. Even though this was an untelevised house show, it's the first occasion that Kane has totally broken character in WWE. However, Kane wasn't there to wrestle, he was...
What the hell is Seth Rollins doing there? Oh, I get it. He's there to burn it down, along with Kane. I know, terrible joke. Anyway.
there to accept and thank WWE for donating $100,000 to the Knoxville Public Safety Foundation. The Knox County Mayor was accompanied by Knox County Sheriff Tom Spangler and representatives from the Knoxville Public Safety Foundation to accept the check. Kane even called this moment his proudest moment in a WWE ring. Some believe that Kane coming out breaking character is a sign that he will be retiring very soon. Although he hasn't officially mentioned this, Kane spoke recently on the Talk is Jericho podcast on whether he'll be able to continue wrestling in the WWE as Knoxville Mayor. No, I can't. Mayor is a full-time job, and I would direct all my attention to that.
And I respectfully agree, Kane. You should definitely do that. Look, at the end of the day, Kane had a pretty damn good career, alright? He had a very decorated career. I think the only wrestler to have won more championships than him was probably Edge. And I'm not talking about world championships. I'm talking about all of the championships. I think him and Edge are right up there with two of the most decorated wrestlers in WWE history. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I can't complain. Kane had a great career. Was it as great as it should have been? No. Should he have been booked better? Yes. Did they make a lot of mistakes with him? Yes. Which WWE tends to make mistakes with everybody. But at the end of the day, I can't complain. I think, to me, my favorite all-time Kane moment, and people don't really bring this up much, but my favorite all-time Kane moment was the TLC on Raw, when he defended the tag team titles by himself, the world tag team titles, because Hurricane, I believe either he was jumped in the back, or he had been jumped like the previous week. One of you peeps can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but to me, that is the ultimate highlight of Kane's career, if you think about it. Besides his feud with Undertaker, of course. But, you know, that TLC on Raw, where he defended the tag titles by himself and won and retained, that was, I don't know. People don't mention that moment too much. And it was a pretty good match, so, you know. If you peeps have not seen that, go back and check out that match. I'm going to check it out myself, because I haven't watched it in a while.
Whilst Kane has wrestled in the ring as mayor, it's clear he wants to devote his whole attention to the city. If Kane is no longer able to wrestle, he surely deserves a place in the WWE Hall of Fame next.
He will get inducted, no doubt.
To other such legendary wrestlers. Perhaps this year? What do you guys think? Is Kane finally done with wrestling? Let us know in the comments down below.
Alright, so that was Wrestlelamia, giving his thoughts on Kane's career. It was kind of a little mini retrospective. Kane is definitely an all-time great. I don't have him in my top 10, but I have him in my top 5 in terms of giants, in terms of all-time big men. In terms of all-time big men. So yeah, Kane. He's had a great career. He's too old though. He's been too old for a long time. I can't remember the last great match that Kane had. It's actually been a while. It's been a while since he had a great match. And when that starts happening, where it's been about a year or 2 or 3 years since your last good to great match, you should probably hang them up. That's how I feel about it. So, I'm out.